expedition, exist, expression, expert, exceed, expect, expand. Philippine Topics Connect Exclusive.
はい、皆さんこんにちは。本日は皆さんにですね、フィルトピのコネクトエクスクルーシブ第2弾をお届けしたいと思います。本日はですね、ゲストがいるんですけれどもご紹介いたします。すでにね、何度もこのチャンネルでは出演していただいてるんですけれども、エクスクルーシブのゲストとしては初めてということでご紹介いたします。週末海外ノマド大輔さんです。よろしくお願いします。
お願いします。僕の方では国を越えて活躍をされる皆さんを応援するということで、チャンネルやらせてもらってますけども、出入国関連ですね、はい、だいぶもうここ最近は動きもあってフィリピンにももう入りやすくなって、もう僕今回3回目ということなんですけども、今日はこのために来させてもらったと言っても過言ではありませんので、はい、注目をねしていきたいと思いますね。
今回ねこうした出演をしていただくっていうことでわざわざこちらのスタジオまでお越しいただいたんですが、すでにこのコネクトエクスクルーシブという、番組はですね第1回が放送されたんですけれども見ていただいていますでしょうか？
もちろん、
はい、PHOA フィリピンホテルオーナーズ協会の常務理事のボン・ベンゾン氏のインタビューなんですけどいかがでしたか？
いやー、ベンゾン氏、いやそういうスケールの方になかなかお話直接聞くっていうこと自体があんまりこうイメージつかなかったんですけど、はい、いやだいぶ勉強にはなりましたね。いやそれにしてもベンゾン氏が来られてここのスタジオで、ね、
そうです、そこで
ここですよね皆さん、はい、
でね現在はホテルオーナー協会の常務理事ということなんですけども、前政権ドゥテルテ政権では、フィリピン観光省の、官僚トップの、事務次官ですよね、をずっと務めてこられた。このコロナパンデミックの中でもちろんね話題の中で出てきましたけど、コロナパンデミックの中でずっとこの IATF の中にも入ってさまざまね大臣と共にされていたっていうことで、非常にねこう話題の深い番組だったと思うんですけれども、で本日はですねそれの第2回目の放送としてですね、次はPEZAフィリピン経済特区庁というふうに言いますけれども、そちらのですねインタビューをお届けしたいと思っています。
PEZAの長官になる方なんですよね。
そうなんですよ、はい、
スケールでかすぎますか？
はい、もうさらにこう一歩進めた形で、はい、でしかもこれから今ビデオ見ていただいたら分かるんですけど、はい、今回はわざわざですね、PEZAの方からお招きをいただいて長官室で撮影をすることができました。はい、
赤津さん長官室に行かれたという、
はい、入れていただきました。はい、この、プラザ長官はですね、前政権のドゥテルテ大統領に2016年に指名されて以来6年間コロナパンデミックの中で、この経済特区庁ですからさまざまな企業投資家様たちですね、そういう方たちとの間を取られていた、もうその責任を取られていた方なので、本当に貴重なインタビューになったと思いますね。
なるほど、ちょっと待ってください、カズさん。僕今分かってるような感じで話聞いてましたけど、はい、PEZAって、はい、ちょっとこれ何なんでしたっけっていうのをですね、僕もちゃんと理解をしながら、はい、これ多分話を聞かないといけないんだろうなと思うんですけど、はい、フィリピン経済には割となくてはならない海外の企業を誘致するための施策っていうぐらいのところはなんかぼんやりイメージあるんですけど、
はい、そうですね。経済特区って聞くと、例えばシンガポールなんかすぐ思い浮かぶと思うんですけど、要するに、海外からの投資を誘致するための一つの国の施策っていうことになりますよね。それを束ねている場所っていうことでもちろんビザ関係もありますし、それからあとは税制面でね、他とは違うそのPEZAの中でのインセンティブというんですが、今後ねもしフィリピンに投資を考えられている方、それから企業として進出したいと考えられている方、いくつかの方法があると思うんですけど、このPEZAというのもぜひ検討されたらいいかなと思うので、そういう方たちにとってはねとても学びの深いものになると思うし、それ以外の方たちにとっても僕はぜひ知ってほしいので、とてもいい機会だと思いますね。
でも今日のテーマはビジネス関連の方は特に刺さると思うんですけど、海外進出を検討されている方、そうじゃない方にとっても なんていうんですかね、この世界の状況だとか特に ASEAN が置かれている中でも、フィリピンがどういう考え方で、今後の経済に向かって、自分たちの強みをこう持とうとしているのか、そこを知るいい機会でもあるんじゃないかなということで、ちょっと今日のテーマは注目をさせてもらうとともに、僕も勉強していかないといけないなと思いますね。分かったつもりでペザって言ってますけど、大丈夫です。皆さんと同じ僕分かってないので今日はねじっくりカズさんにも聞きながら一緒に勉強したいと思いますね。
なのでフィリピンっていうとやっぱり観光とかあるいは家族訪問とかっていうのが割と友人訪問とかっていうのが多かったと思うんですけれども、今度のこの切り口としてビジネスっていうのもね、やはりこのエクスクルーシブで取り上げていきたいので、この今日のねペザのことをきっかけにさまざま展開していきたいなと思ってますので、ぜひ一緒に番組を見ていただいて、でまたその終わった後にまた一緒にね話をしたいと思いますのでお願いします。
お願いします。
この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
Philippine Topics Connect Exclusive.
じゃあ本日はどうぞよろしくお願いします。インタビュアーのカズです。インタビューを始める前にまず、バックグラウンドを教えていただけますでしょうか。
はい。Thank you very much for this opportunity to be interviewed by Connect Exclusive. I am Director General Charito B.Plaza, the Director General of the Philippine Economic Zone Authority. And this is the biggest investment promotion agency of the Philippines. PEZA contributes the highest export income to the country. We have now 416 economic zones of different types, and we have almost 4,000 plus companies, export companies registered with PEZA. So we also contribute 1.7 million Filipinos directly employed and 10.2 million who are both directly and indirectly employed. So I used to be the congresswoman representing the 1st District of Agusan del Norte. So I served the Congress for 11 years, and I was one of the co-authors when we passed the PEZA law in Congress. So I now enhance the programs of PEZA with my education and knowledge and experience. I am into business administration, public administration, and governance, and also into peace and security administration. So I have education and trainings international or abroad and in the domestic institutions. So now I am currently also the Brigadier General, the Wing Commander of the Philippine Air Force wing reserve here in Metro Manila. So I am tasked to prepare the people, the Filipinos who become reservists, to respond to the government's call in times of disaster, calamities, emergencies, and even in war. So hand in hand, my program is to create different types of economic zones nationwide, especially in the countryside, so that we can attract different types of industries to locate in these different types of economic zones. So with that, we hope to attain our goal of fully industrializing the Philippines, and the goal of making the Philippines self-reliant, self-sustaining, resource-generating, and maximize our production capability. We should plant and utilize responsibly the lands and the natural resources, so that we encourage also the industries who will bring in new technology to the country. And so we realize also the goal of making the country production, manufacturing driven, and establish a global competitive digitalized economy, and of course an export driven economy. We want to put a stop to import dependence and make productive all the idle lands of the Philippines. So through the Philippine Economic Zone Authorities program, we hope to make the Philippines as an investment destination of Asia.
今ペザの話をしていただいたんですが、ペザの日系企業が2005年に500社ほどだったものが現在ではもうその3倍にまでなっています。日本にとっては海外投資対象国の中でも常に上位にあって、これからも関心が高まると思うんですけれども、ズバリペザのですね、フィリピン投資の魅力っていうものを教えていただけますでしょうか。
PEZA is known for its excellence, the brand of service. We are even recognized by the IFC World Bank continuously. It says it is PEZA who has the best practice among the economic zones worldwide. And recently, the U.S. Department of State also recognized PEZA as having provided a positive business atmosphere despite the pandemic, and we are known for our regulatory transparency, and then as a one-stop shop, as a non-stop shop, meaning we operate 24/7 because we are dealing with investors around the world. And recently, because of our balancing acts, we were able to keep the economy of the Philippines afloat, and protected the health, the jobs, and the livelihood of our 1.7 million workers. And I would like to thank the Japanese investors of PEZA, because they are among those who really keep their faith and trust and confidence in PEZA and in the Philippines. And so presently we have doubled, or 27% of the investors of PEZA are Japanese investors, and we provide them various fiscal and non-fiscal incentives. So, like for example, we grant an income tax holiday or ITH of 4 to 7 years to export enterprises, depending on their location and industry priorities. And this is followed by the special corporate income tax rate of 5% on gross income earned. So other incentives of PEZA include the tax and duty-free importation of capital equipment, raw materials, spare parts or accessories. And of course, another incentive is the VAT exemption on importation and VAT zero rating on local purchases for goods and services. So these goods and services which are directly or exclusively used in the registered project or activities. And we allow foreign investors, our Japanese investors are allowed to sell in the domestic market at least 30% of their total sales, and 70% can be for export. But most of our foreign investors, though, are exporting 100%. And we also exempt our investors in PEZA from the payment of local government taxes and fees for the duration of the period of availment of the 5% special corporate income tax incentives. We also allow the employment of foreign nationals, at least not more than 5% of the total workforce. And we are now issuing the 2-year visa for our foreign investors, their immediate family members, and their foreign national workers. So our investors, our Japanese investors and other foreign investors, in fact, are recognizing that being registered with PEZA allows them or give them the ease of doing business in the Philippines, and helping our investors also to lower the cost of doing business in the country. So we are now working with other agencies of government so that we can build more logistics and transportation hubs, international airports and seaports, and even food terminals in every region. We are also addressing the lowering of the power rate and the other utilities. We are also addressing the transformation of our economic zones to become green, healthy, sustainable, and smart economic zones, and designed into townships. So all the needs of the locators and the workers are found within the economic zone. So we hope to build different types of economic zones designed into township. So we will make the economic zones as the economic driver so that we can grow smart towns, digital cities, and hopefully the economic zones together in every region of the country. We will be able to create new metropolitan areas. It's high time that we have to decongest Metro Manila. The investors are requested to go to the countryside because we are now creating different types of economic zones. Environment-friendly industrialization is our goal. And so the development of our lands, the spread of jobs and livelihood, and of course the technology will be felt nationwide. So that is so far what PEZA is doing. So we hope to make the country a favorite investment destination in Asia.
他の国でですね、タイにも今回PEZAについて学ばせていただいた時に、タイにも経済特区ですね、同じような政策があるということが分かったんですが、ズバリですね、フィリピンの魅力というか ASEAN 諸国と比べて優れていると思われるところはどこでしょうか。
Yeah. Philippines is globally competitive. No? So our economic zones is also globally competitive and even more advantageous because number one, our workforce, the Filipino workforce, is among the young and English-speaking workforce, so they can easily be trained. Every year, we produce 1 million plus Filipinos who reach the working age of 18 are university graduates. And plus the character traits of the Filipinos, that we are very friendly, hospitable, and very helpful. So most of our foreign investors consider the Philippines as their second home. And they say the number one attraction is the workforce because of our character traits and because we can speak English. so we can easily be trained. No need to translate manuals, especially in the manufacturing sector. In fact, Philippines now is the #1 call center of the world because of our English-speaking and very global knowledge Filipino workforce. We have other advantages, like our location is strategically at the center of Asia and the Pacific. That's why superpowers like US, Russia, China are fighting who will be the best ally of the Philippines because of our location, militarily, politically, and economically. So other advantage, because we only have 2 types of weather, so we can do economic activities and plant the whole year round. And of course, the third is we have very rich human and natural resources. So we can plant different types of crops the whole year round. And another advantage is that we have incentives like it is only the Philippines granted by the European Union and the US Congress the GSP Plus. What is the GSP Plus? This is the General Systems of Preference, meaning those investors who will produce or manufacture their products in the Philippines and their products are sold to the European countries and in the US will enjoy zero tariff. So this makes the Philippines very attractive and in a better position to attract more investors because of that zero tariff GSP Plus incentive or advantage granted by the US Congress and the European Union. We have millions of hectares of available lands where we can put up the manufacturing ecozone, we can put up refinery ecozones, assembly, the IT BPO, we can also put tourism ecozones, agro-industrial, agroforestry, mineral processing ecozones. So we're now creating different types of ecozones. The latest is the defense industrial complex. So we can invite the defense industries of the world to manufacture their military aircraft, seacraft, the weapons, the vehicles, the equipment needed by the defense institutions. And also another latest economic zone put up by PEZA is for our universities and colleges. We call this Knowledge, Innovation, Science, and Technology Park. So colleges and universities now of the Philippines are registering to become KIST Park. So colleges and universities can now invite industries like IT BPOs and others related to science, technology, and even knowledge. So here in knowledge, for example, our KIST parks, the universities and colleges, can now look for a foreign university or college to partner with them. So these foreign schools can bring their knowledge, their skills training, and their technology to their local partner school. So we hope to make the Philippines as an education hub of Asia. So with these KIST parks of our universities and colleges, partnering with foreign universities and colleges, we hope also to attract foreign students to study in the Philippines. And likewise, because of our strategic location, we can also be a manufacturing hub. We can also be a tourism hub and even a food hub because we have 9 million hectares of agricultural land. We have 15 million hectares of timberland. So we want to restore back the wood industry, the food industry. We want to make the country self-reliant, self-sustaining, and resource-generating. So we no longer have to import. And once we will complete the supply chain in the country, this will attract more investors because they don't need to import the raw materials and supplies and even manufactured materials because everything or most are already or can already be bought in the local market. So these are the potentials to investors if they're going to decide in coming up or investing in the Philippines, especially in our economic zones.
今ですね、このPEZAの魅力を聞かせていただいたんですけれども、ちょっと、難しい質問をさせていただきたいんですが、2020年に、このパンデミックになって、ここフィリピンもですねロックダウンされて人の流入というのが止まってしまったんですけれども、その状況をどのように、そのお立場で見ておられたのか、でまたこのPEZAの企業がですね一部もしくは全部が撤退するというような決断をしたところもあると思うんですけれども、そういう状況をどのように見ておられ、またコントロールされてきたのでしょうか。
Yeah. I'm very proud because PEZA, the PEZA leadership, I am trained to handle or to manage crisis situations. So I had trainings, education and trainings abroad, for example, in the USA and in Australia on crisis management and preparations. So when the pandemic hit the Philippines, it is only PEZA who was able to continue the operations of its industries and an unhampered movement of the goods, the cargos, and even the personnel. So while the other domestic enterprises were locked down, their employees lost the job. It is PEZA's 416 economic zone and almost 4,000 companies who continue to operate because we give them the business assistance and reliefs. For example, to protect the health of their workers, we require our locators to provide housing facilities and shuttle service, so the workers don't need to go home every now and then and be exposed to the pandemic. Second, we increased the work from home scheme from 30% to 90%. So they become more productive working from home. In fact, the IT BPOs especially has increased their revenues and even employment in the work from home arrangement that we increased in PEZA. Okay. Then third, we assisted our investor locators that all their COVID-related expenses can already be deducted from their income tax. So they feel happy that the government is allowing them to deduct from their income tax their purchases of the PPEs, their disinfection of their premises. We require them to disinfect daily their offices, their companies, and their ecozones. That's why our ecozones are COVID-free. And other measures to continue the operations, like we also made representation that all the ecozone workers, including the investors and locators, must be given free COVID vaccine. So we are almost 100% vaccinized among the locators and our ecozone workers. That's why it was PEZA, the industries and investors of PEZA, who kept the economy afloat in the Philippines because the domestic enterprises were locked down. It was also PEZA who continuously attract the existing investors to expand despite the pandemic and to attract more investors to come. Like we conducted a global Biz with PEZA. This is a virtual investors forum that we hold with foreign countries twice a month. So the Global Biz invites, for example, the Japanese ambassador in the Philippines and the Philippine ambassador in Japan. So both ambassadors will help PEZA in gathering the investors, the Japanese investors, to listen to the investors' orientation that we provide in this virtual investors forum, the Global Biz in PEZA. That's why we are very proud to say that it was PEZA and our industry's investors who kept the economy going in the Philippines, who protected the health and the jobs and the livelihood of the Filipinos working in our economic zones and industries. So we are recognized because of that balancing act where we continue making the country attractive to investors.
若い頃から政治家として活躍されて、ドゥテルテ政権においては、6年間の政権運営にPEZAの長官として参与されてきたわけですけれども、リーダーシップについてどのようにお考えでしょうか。
Leadership for me is very important. The word itself, lead. You have to be a good guide to a better future, a better government, a guide in shaping a better life for our people. So a leader should have that dedication and commitment, and will have to visualize. No? She or he must be full of dreams and visions of what she or he is going to do to make the country strong and to make the people, the Filipino people, live in peace and in comfort, in peace and prosperity. So that's my goal as a leader. So as a leader, I have also to be a good manager, because I will be managing all the human resource, the material, the financial resource, and all the resources of my agency. I should have a roadmap. I should have a roadmap that I am going to follow so that the goals and the objectives will be realized. So for example, as the leader and the manager of PEZA, the Philippine Economic Zone Authority, whose mission is to create investment, to create employment, and to introduce or bring in new technology to the country, and to contribute in the total development of the country. So I have set a goal. I have created my own or our own transformation roadmap, which will guide us in our attainment of the goals and objectives. So one goal, for example, under our transformation roadmap is to fully industrialize the country, to make the economy or the country self-reliant, self-sustaining, and resource-generating, and to build a production and manufacturing capability, a digitalized economy, and an export-driven economy. So this is the goal that we are setting. And in order to attain these goals, we have also set the 3 objectives. So the first objective is by creating different types of economic zones, but it must be environment friendly, meaning whatever is the land and the natural resources will be the type of an economic zone, so that the equivalent industries will be located. For example, the land is agricultural, so we call it agro-industrial economic zone. So only food companies, agriculture-related industries like livestock, poultry, plantation of crops, the manufacture of agrochemicals and fertilizers and tools and equipment are the types of companies that we invite to locate in our agro-industrial ecozone. So if the land is timberland, we call it agroforestry economic zone. So only industries who are making paper from the leaves of the trees and who are utilizing wood, like the furniture making factories, those who will make plywood, veneer, and we have here the HRD, a Japanese company registered in PEZA, who is utilizing wood for prefabricated housing components for export. No? And I was sad to know that they are importing wood from Malaysia and other countries while we have 15 million hectares of timberland. That's why I am putting up the agroforestry economic zone so that we will also be assured of a continuous reforestation because the wood is the raw material needed by these wood-based industries. We also have tourism ecozone if there is a natural endowment of tourism, like there's a waterfalls, it's a mountain overlooking a very beautiful view, and it's a white sand beach. So these are potential tourism ecozones of PEZA. And again, we are definite only industries or companies who will put up resort, theme parks, wellness and naturopathy village, and even a retirement village will be allowed to locate in our tourism ecozone. So IT-BPOs, we call this the IT parks and centers where the IT-BPO companies has to be located. We also have mineral processing economic zones. So these are mining lands where we are inviting mineral processing industries to process into different finished products the minerals instead of exporting the raw minerals which has destroyed the environment. We also have aquamarine economic zone in the fishing grounds of the country. And then, of course, I said we also have a halal hub and production zones so we can attract the Muslim investors of the world. And also the Defense Industrial Complex, the KIST for the universities and schools. So every type of land has a corresponding type of an ecozone and the corresponding locator companies to locate. So with that, we will not destroy the environment. We will even enhance the environment and promote the responsible utilization of our land and our natural resources. And at the same time, we industrialize. So that's the first non-negotiable factor in PEZA, which we require our investors. We even give them incentives once they bring in new technology that will prevent pollution. So we call that the protection of the environment, at the same time industrializing the country. So the wise use of the land and the natural resources on it. So that's what we tell our investors. Invest in the Philippines, but locate your companies in the appropriate economic zone so that you can help the Philippines, you can help PEZA in protecting the environment and utilizing properly our land and natural resources.
じゃあ次はですね、ちょっと人件費について多分関心がある方がいると思うんで質問したいんですけれども、その日本がですね投資の対象国としてフィリピンを考えた時にこの人件費の安さっていうのは一つの魅力になっていると思うんですね。一方でフィリピンもインフレーションが非常に進んでいて物価高ということがあるので、フィリピン人の労働者のことを考えると労働者の最低賃金を上げるためのですねこの声が上がっていて、つい最近ですねそれが発表されたばかりです。ですのでこの投資を誘致しつつフィリピン人の労働者の条件を良くするということですね。そのことについてはどのようなお考えをお持ちでしょうか。
はい。PEZA is currently addressing the efficiency factors, no? Efficiency factors that will lower the cost of doing business in the country. So among this is the labor cost. Our solution to that is we should encourage productivity, meaning let's plant all around us so that food and the basic needs of man will be cheaper. And for me, foremost that the government should develop and support are the human capital, the human resources. That's why in our transformation roadmap, we emphasize there as one of our objectives to fully industrialize the country, to economically develop, is to continuously train and transform the Filipino workers to become multi-knowledge, multi-skilled, and world-class workers. But before anything else, we must be able to give them a comfortable life. Comfortable life because they have jobs and livelihood, stable jobs and livelihood. And this can be addressed by the government through our economic zones program. That's why we are now scattering or spreading the creation of more economic zones so that we can also spread the industries around the country. And based on our experience, wherever we have economic zones, the provinces and cities with economic zones, they grow fast. They increase their income. The social progress is felt. What is social progress measured? How is it measured? Social progress because we provided jobs and livelihood to the constituents of that province or city. So once we give jobs and livelihood to the workers or to the people, we are increasing their buying power. So once the buying power of the people, the workers, will increase, that is the multiplier effect. More businesses will grow to respond to the increasing needs for services and goods because people has money to spend because they have jobs. So that is how we address that challenge on how we make investors attractive by making our workers, the Filipino workers, have a comfortable life. So we can make their labor costs, for example, just average, not small and not so high that it will be competitive with other countries. No? But hand in hand, the government also must provide all the assistance and support, especially the basic needs of our people, must be addressed so that we will have a healthy, a dynamic workforce that will make the investors more attracted to come to the Philippines. So, other than the labor cost, we are addressing in PEZA the public works infrastructure and the IT infrastructure should be improved, especially the infrastructures leading to the economic zones, so the investors will be attracted. We are addressing how we are going to lower the power rate and the other utilities rate. No, we are addressing inviting foreign and local banks to put up credit facilities so that the LGUs, the industries, and the suppliers, from the farmers to the small and medium enterprises, every Filipino can participate in providing the supplies and the services to our investors in the economic zone. So we have, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, we already have 4 or 5 Japanese banks in the Philippines who provides the credit facilities not just to Japanese investors but also to Filipino investors and other investors doing business in our economic zones. So I thank our Japanese banks and in the Philippines for helping PEZA in marketing and promoting investments to the country. So that's it. We must be able to balance the basic needs of our workers so that they become healthy and happy doing the jobs and to attract more investors to the country. So the government must be able to address in its balancing acts in order to provide the efficiency factors and will lower the cost of doing business in the country. So that's what we are doing.
次に伺いたいのはですね、このフィリピンという国に私もすごく魅力を感じて今活動しているんですけれども、フィリピンが豊かになるばかりではなくて、このアジアの中でリーダーとして立っていくために必要なことというのはどのように思っていらっしゃいますか？
はい、フ Philippines has many advantages. No? So all that we are going to do is how we can enhance these advantages to make the investors more attractive. No? For example, is our strategic location. We are at the center of Asia and Pacific. Another advantage is we have very rich human and natural resources. Another advantage is we only have two types of weather, the rainy and the sunny, so we can plant the whole year round and do economic activities the whole year round. Another advantage is Philippines is a very beautiful country. We have many tourist destinations. That's why in our tourism ecozone, we also invite investors who will put up retirement villages. So Japanese investors, for example, you can come to the Philippines whenever it is winter in Japan. No? That's 5 to 6 months winter time, very cold. So many, especially the old people and the children, they can come anytime to the Philippines because we have a tropical weather. Plus, we will be building retirement villages in our tourism destinations. So the ambience is very good. We also have an economic zone we call as Island City Economic Zone. So we are now identifying islands because we have 7,614 islands. We have many islands that we want to convert into island cities or the capital cities of the world. Say, for example, I'm now looking for a Japanese investor or a group of Japanese investors who will put up the Tokyo Island in Japan. A city in Japan that you will put up in one island of the Philippines, and then you put up one or two landmark of that city, say Tokyo, one or two landmarks of Tokyo, and then put a resort, a theme park, and a tourism economic zone. So Japanese, when they come to the Philippines, for example, will stay in that Tokyo Island in the Philippines. So in the same manner, we are inviting Korea to put the Seoul, the capital of Korea, in another island, maybe Beijing, China, New Delhi of India. No? So these islands are now identified where we are inviting again investors to put up the capital city or any city of Japan, for example, in that island. Okay, so you will all be gathered together in one economic zone, the Japanese investors and their families, once they come to the Philippines. So we have other advantages, of course. We produce 1 million Filipinos every year who reach the working age of 18. And they are English speaking, so they can easily be trained. And of course, plus the character traits of the Filipinos, we are very friendly, we are very hospitable, and very helpful. That's why our foreign investors, for example, consider the Philippines as their second home. And we also have incentives that we give the investors, which is globally competitive, no? Similar and even better incentives than other countries. So all this, especially if investors will bring in huge capital, so we call them strategic and big ticket industries. So what are strategic industries? These are companies who will bring in new technology, which is not yet found in the Philippines. Then the big ticket industries, these are companies who will bring in huge capital investment, who can create thousands of jobs for the Filipinos, and will be located in the countryside. So we give more incentives and even subsidy. The president is authorized in the law that the president can add incentives and even subsidies. No? Like, for example, a low power rate, a free rent public lands that you can develop where you will put up your ecozone or your industries. No? So these are some of the subsidies that the president can give big ticket industries or investors who will come to the Philippines and invest. Okay, so with all these advantages, I think the Philippines will become a favored country to invest in. No? Plus the GSP Plus granted, meaning zero tariff. If you bring your investment, you produce and manufacture your goods here in the Philippines, and you sell it, market it to the European countries and in the US, you will enjoy zero tariff. So this also will be addressed. We are totally addressing the lowering of the cost of doing business. That's why we are working with other agencies to have every region of the country will have their own international airport and seaport. They will have their own food terminals and different types of ecozones. So this will lower the cost of doing business, especially in transporting the goods to the different markets of the world. No? It will lower the cost of doing business because we provide our investors low cost of transporting their goods, just an average labor cost. Then we provide them the enhancing in doing business, like PEZA is providing a one-stop shop service, meaning you don't need to apply business permits and other permits with the local government units and other agencies. Everything will be provided by PEZA. Okay, so providing the ease of doing business in the country. Everything, all the permits from application to registration, all will be given by PEZA, and including the visa for our foreign investors. So I can say that the Philippines, especially our economic zones, we are already ready to host most industries of different types, because we have now different types of economic zones to locate their companies, where we are promoting, I said, environment-friendly industrialization. So we hope to be a big contributor to the global supply chain. So once we implement and utilize properly all the lands and the natural resources. So these are our programs, our actions, our projects to really make the Philippines globally competitive and attractive to the global investors.
Philippine Topics Connect Exclusive.
はい、皆さんご視聴ありがとうございました。本日はですね、コネクトエクスクルーシブのエピソード2、PEZAですね、フィリピン経済特区庁のチャリト B プラザ長官の、独占インタビュー、お届けしましたが、いかがでしたでしょうか。で、大輔さん、見ていただきましたけども、いかがでしたでしょうか。
いや、めちゃくちゃ勉強になりましたね。直接トップの方に聞けるっていう場面でもなかなかない中で、今のフィリピンが置かれてる世界的に見て、どういう状況にあるのかっていうのはよく分かりました。キーワードは、人口ボーナス期にあるっていう、そこがやっぱ今日は深く理解できましたね。
そうですね、プラザ長官も言っていたんですけれども、フィリピンの魅力っていうのは自然資源、それから人的資源なんだっていうことがやっぱり繰り返し言われていて、やはり若い層がですね、毎年100万人以上生み出されてくるこの国っていうのは、これやっぱり日本人の私たちとしてはインパクト強いですよね。
今後何十年、50年だとか人口増が続いていくっていうのはボーナス期だっていうのはすごい勉強にもなりましたし、トップがやっぱり一番そこを強みに考えていくと、その反面でカズさん切り込まれましたよね。
そうですね。
やっぱりこの、相手の立場に立てば、この安く採用ができるってね、思いがちですけど、相手の立場に立つとやっぱりその中でもインフレが激しい国の一つではありますから、どうやって賃金上げていくのか、そのあたりの、お話を興味深かったですね。
そうですね。やっぱり僕はどうしても聞きたかったのは、この撮影をした時に折しもですが、今年の中旬にですね、やはりパンデミックから立ち直っていくフィリピンが、やはりみんながやる気になるためにね、分かりやすく言うとモチベーションを高めていくためにはやっぱり賃金が上がっていかないとっていうことがあって、やっぱりプラザ長官としては 日本からあるいは世界中からの企業にぜひ投資してくださいね、魅力がありますよという一方で、プラザ長官自体がフィリピン人ですよねと。でフィリピン人の立場に立って考えたら、やはりフィリピン人の未来はやはり豊かになることでもあるから、その辺どうなんですかっていう質問に対して答えてくださったんですよね。
今後このフィリピンの強みを生かしてどう世界に展開していくのかっていうのは、僕も注目やっぱせざるを得ないなっていうふうに思いますよね。
でやっぱり経済特区庁のトップ長官に話が聞けたっていうのがやっぱりポイントだと思うんですよね。
いやでもそこなんですけどね、当日カズさん現地行かれるわけじゃないですか。僕だったらちょっと緊張してうまく聞けないような気もするんですけど、実際どんな感じだったんですか？
PEZA の本部にお招きいただいて、実際にお忙しい中なんですけどもたっぷり時間を取ってくださって、本当にね、番組の中では編集されてるので分かんないと思うんですけど、実はこの撮影の中でも我々のために本当にこのPEZAがどうしたらアピールできるかっていうことをね聞いてくださる、その姿勢がやっぱりその人格みたいなものが素晴らしいなと思いましたし、それからあとやっぱりPEZAのスタッフの方々が非常に洗練されていて、フィリピンってどちらかというとねちょっとこう緩いイメージがあると思うんですけど、やはりこのあるレベルのところに行くとすごいですよ。
いやめちゃ今日のやつもガラッとイメージ変わりましたね。
はい、だからこういう切り口でフィリピンを見ていただきたいっていうのも、僕のやっぱこの新しくなったね、このフィルトピの狙いでもあるので、ぜひねたくさんの方に見ていただきたいと思いますね。
そうですね。まあでも本音ね言わせてもらうとちょっと難しい部分もあったので、繰り返して今日の回は見たいなと思いましたね。いやこのフィルトピはカズさんが発信するニュースだけではなくて、フィリピンのこの国の中核をなす方々が本音を聞き出せるみたいな、本音というか、実態を聞き出せるというところもあるかと思いますけど、今後どうなってくるんですか？エクスクルーシブであり、フィルトピっていうのはどこに向かっていかれるんですか？
ありがとうございます。まずエクスクルーシブなんですけれども、もう年間通してやります。これはもう本当に続けていくのは決まっているので、楽しみに見ていただきたいですし、これからの6年間の新しいマルコス政権の省庁のトップの方たちにできれば話を聞いていきたいなと思ってますし、それからとやっぱり経済界ですよね。重要な企業、トップ企業のいわゆる社長さんとかCEO の方とかですね、そういう方に聞けたらいいなというふうに思っているので、そちらもね楽しみにしていただきたいと思います。
これは YouTube の枠を超えていきますね。
そうですね、 YouTube というプラットフォームを使ってるんですけど、もうすでにご覧になって分かるようにですね、もうその枠組みではもう捉えきれない、そしてフィリピンの方やまた世界中の人に見ていただきたいという気持ちを持って、日本語英語のねこの字幕をつけてるっていう部分もあるので、ぜひ今後のね展開楽しみにしていただきたいですし、そうするとねこのフィリピンのローカルニュース僕が発信しているのとそれを合わせて見ていくと、今まで皆さんが見たことなかったような、聞いたことがなかったようなフィリピンの切り口っていうのがね提供できるんじゃないかなというふうに思っています。
いや今後も目が離せないですねこれは。
それではですね、本当に、長時間でしたけれども、皆さんご視聴ありがとうございました。そして、週末海外ノマド大輔さんありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
はい、またぜひ出ていただきたいんですけど。
いやもうこんな回に呼んでもらえるんであればまたちょっと現地にぜひ来させてもらいたいなと思いますね。
ぜひよろしくお願いします。それでは最後にですね、日本の視聴者の皆さんに今回のフィリピン経済特区庁PEZAのチャリトビプラザ長官のですねメッセージをいただいていますので、それを見ながら皆様とお別れしたいと思います。大輔さん今日はありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
はい、それでは皆さん、メッセージをご覧ください。
I would like to thank our Japanese investors in the Philippines, especially in PEZA's economic zone. Thank you very much for investing, for the trust and confidence you have given us. You are the biggest foreign investor in PEZA, and the Filipino people really admire your professionalism, your being disciplined, hardworking, very courteous people, and most of all, we look up highly on you. We call you as Ichiban, number one in almost everything. So we invite again our Japanese investors please come to the Philippines because we have a very beautiful country and beautiful and very friendly and helpful Filipino people. Arigato gozaimasu.
この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りしました。